there's nothing wrong with reaching out for help and accepting help when you need help financially. Welcome in, everybody. Today we will be talking about money management. So just sort of some of the things that I've learned throughout my life about sort of like how to manage your money in the best way possible, and like make it so that your money works for you rather than you sort of being governed by your money. So the first like tip that I want to give is sort of to identify what you love spending money on. So like look at the things that make you really happy, that when you spend money on them, they bring you a lot of fulfillment. And one of the things that I really believe deeply in is like the idea that like it's okay to spend money. Like a lot of money people you'll see talk about, like they're like, you gotta pinch every penny, you gotta live on as little as possible so that then eventually you can die. And like it's just a miserable existence. So one of the things that I really preach is like identify what you really love spending money on and like spend exuberantly on it. Like don't be shy to spend money on things that you really love. And we're going to go over how you can do that safely and without like going into debt and like things like that. So then once you identify like what your main like money loves are, the things that you absolutely love spending money on, then what you want to do is you want to look at everything else and you want to cut costs mercilessly everywhere else. You want to look at all your other categories and be like, I don't care about this. I don't like, you know, if you don't care, let's say for example that like you don't really care about soap. Like having nice soap isn't super important to you. So you can start buying like the store brand soap. Like you don't have to buy the like big fancy soaps. You can buy just like some crappy store brand soap and like it's not a big deal, you know? So just like everywhere that you can that you don't really care about, just cut costs mercilessly, right? And then like once you've identified what you love spending money on and what you want to cut costs on, then you want to like make money into a tool that allows you to accomplish the things that you want to do. And the reason why you want to do this is because a lot of the time in our society, money becomes like an obstacle. Money becomes something that is in the way of us getting what we want. And so because it's this like negative, bad thing, like we don't want to like do things like put money away into savings and things like that, really important practices like that. And so by looking at like what you would like to accomplish with money, so like let's say you want to travel more, okay? And like you'd like to go up to like, let's say you want to go to Japan. You can sit down and say like, okay, like how much money would be necessary? How much money would I need to save in order to go to Japan? And then you can look at that number and then like looking at all of the plans of like, you know, getting a really cool hotel room in Japan and like, you know, going to all the different places that you want to go to in Japan, getting the plane ticket for Japan, like all that, like that can be really exciting, like planning out that trip. And then all of a sudden there's something that you actually want to save for, right? And so that leads us into this idea with savings of passive barriers. And passive barriers is a psychological concept that like everyone goes through. So like a really good example of this is when you have fruit in your fridge that is not already cut up. So like let's say you have like a watermelon in your fridge, okay? And it's not already cut up. It's just sitting there. And like it never gets eaten because you don't want to cut up the watermelon. But if you buy like pre-sliced watermelon, you'll eat it because it's already there and it's ready for you and it's ready to eat and all the things. So the idea of this is that like if you use the passive barriers to your advantage instead of letting them be used against you, it can actually be a really powerful tool for you. So an example of this is automating your money, and it's sort of the like main thrust of this talk, to be honest. Like the core of this talk is all about automating your money. So what you can do is you can set it so that like money automatically goes into savings. so that if you don't want to save money, you have to like overcome that passive barrier of like, oh, like now I need to go and like stop the automatic transfer and like blah blah blah, instead of what most people do, which is like, oh, like I need to go and I need to transfer money into my savings account in order to save, and I don't want to because I don't have enough money and I can't do it and blah 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 blah, and it's a pain and I want the money. So like if you make it so that the passive barrier is holding you back from not saving money instead of holding you back from saving money, it makes saving money a whole lot easier. So I'm actually going to show y'all a little chart about automating your money that is from one of my favorite like financial guys. His name is Ramit Sethi, and he runs a blog and wrote a book called I Will Teach You to Be Rich, and I really like him a lot. I've learned a lot from him, and I think that his sort of main thrust is combining like money management and psychology, which is like right up my alley, right? So he put together this sort of like automating your money flow chart that I wanted to show y'all because I think that it's how I manage my money and it works fantastically. So here's the chart. Here's how it works. So first you get your salary, right? And a part of your salary automatically goes into your 401k. And hopefully you're working at a place that provides a 401k. If not, like, you know, a lot of people watching this may be like very like early on in their career. I'm arguably also very early on in my career, but there are ways to set up a 401k even if your work doesn't provide it. One of the big things about a 401k is that a lot of times your workplace will match it, and that's really the true power of a 401k, because the truth is that in terms of like the different types of investment, a 401k is actually not a great investment opportunity. But you, because a lot of workplaces match it, it's really powerful. So like, for instance, my workplace will match my 401k contributions up to 4% of my paycheck. So that means that if I contribute 4% of my paycheck, I'm actually contributing 8% while only paying 4%. Does that make sense? So like, that's huge. That's super exciting. So like, the first thing is like, always heckin' match your work's contribution. If your work is gonna match 7%, do 7%. Like, even if it really hurts your wallet, heckin' do it. Cause oh my God, those matches are so busted. It is such a busted way to make money. It is an amazing way to make money. So always match your contribution, okay? So he suggests 5%. I think that's a great suggestion. So 5% of your paycheck automatically goes into your 401k, and then hopefully your company matches it. So like in my case, it would be 9%. 9% of, I would be contributing only 5%, but 9% of my paycheck without me paying 9% would be going into my 401k, which is awesome. So then from there, the other 95% goes into your checking account, okay? And then from your checking account, 5% immediately goes into your Roth IRA. Okay, and this is a really important part. Roth IRAs are so forking busted. Roth IRAs are like the best investment vehicle ever. It's crazy how good Roth IRAs are. Okay, so here, first, before I explain Roth IRAs, I have to explain a couple of like tax concepts, okay? This may seem a little boring, but I love this stuff, okay? Nerd out with me for a second, okay? So there's qualified and non-qualified. For anyone who doesn't know, qualified means that it is an account that has not yet been taxed, okay? So qualified money means money that has not yet been taxed. Non-qualified means money that has been taxed, okay? That's sort of like the main distinguishing factor between qualified and non-qualified. So typically, the way that it works is if you have a qualified investment account, it means that you are putting money that has not yet been taxed into that account, and then when you take money out of that account, you have to pay taxes on it, right? And then there's non-qualified accounts where you're paying money that has already been taxed, so like money in your bank account, and you're putting it into an investment account, and the only money when you take the money back out, the only money that you have to pay taxes on is the interest, because you've already paid money on the principal, the main amount that you contributed, right? But here's what's so crazy about Roth IRAs. Roth IRAs are non-qualified, okay? Roth IRAs are accounts that you pay with money that you've already paid taxes on, and then they gain interest. But then, when you take money out, you don't have to pay taxes on that money. Do y'all understand how crazy that is? Y'all understand how crazy that is, right? Like, it's just free money. Like, it's just, they're just, I don't know how this works. I don't know how Roth IRAs get away with this. It's unbelievable. It's so crazy. So Roth IRAs are completely busted. Everyone should have a Roth IRA. I have a Roth IRA, and like, I'm not rich. Like, I'm only able to contribute like $25 a month to my Roth IRA. But like, who cares? Like, just get money in there. Set up a Roth IRA. What I did was I used all of the money that like people gave me when I announced that I was going to college. All the money that people gave me when I announced that I was going to college, I just immediately put it into a Roth IRA. I opened up a Roth IRA with that. And that was when I was like 19 or something. And I just contribute like $25 every single month. And as my like income increases, I will increase that amount so that it matches this sort of like 5%, right? Okay, so that's enough about Roth IRAs. Then we move into the other 95, well, hold on, let's do savings first. So then from there, 5%, another 5% goes into savings, okay? And that's gonna be, what I would really recommend is most bank accounts will allow you to set up, like sort of like different savings accounts depending on what you want. So this sort of leads into an important topic, which is like, well, what banks do I set up? I would actually recommend setting up 2 bank accounts, okay? The first bank account that you want to set up is just like is for your checking, and it's just like a very accessible bank. So like wherever you are, find a bank that one is not going to like charge you any sort of fees. You don't want any sort of fees. You don't need those. It's not worth it. Just don't do it. Do not sign up for a bank account that's going to charge you fees. A lot of big banks like Wells Fargo, places like that are going to charge you fees. Don't let them get away with it. Sign up for a bank that's not going to charge you any fees, okay? So, but you just want something that's accessible, so that like if you need to go to an ATM, you need to get cash, like whatever it is, you can go to the ATM and find an ATM really easily and like get cash out, right? And then you want to open up a completely separate branch bank account that is for your savings. And the reason that you want to open up a completely separate bank account is again because of this idea of passive barriers. So what you want to do is you want to make it as hard as possible for you to take money out of that savings account. Like if it's an emergency, obviously like you want to be able to take money out of that savings account. But other than that, you don't want it to just be there, because if it's there and you see it every time you open up your bank account, you're going to be like, oh, well, like I'm super broke, but like, hey, there's a few hundred in my savings account, might as well take it out. Whereas like if it's not right there, if it's not like at front of mind, like out of sight, out of mind, right? Like you're not going to think about it. It's going to be a lot harder for you to be like, okay, well, like I really want to get that cheeseburger, so might as well just withdraw the money out. No, it's going to be like a 3-day wait before you can like actually get access to that money, unless you like go to a bank. So for your savings account, what I would recommend is setting up an online bank account. And the reason for this is one, because again, like the sort of lack of accessibility, and two, because online savings accounts offer way higher interest rates than like most normal banks. Most normal banks are going to offer you like just absolute garbage. It's going to be like 0.01%. It's going to be absolute garbage. Before everything happened with COVID, my bank was offering like a 1% interest rate on my savings account, which is insane. Like you never ever see bank accounts offer like a full percentage on savings accounts. You normally like you have to sign up for some sort of investment account to get any sort of significant percentage. So yeah, so I would definitely recommend I use Discover Online Bank, and I really like them. They also have like a cashback debit card, so that even if you don't have a credit card, every time you swipe your debit card, you're getting cash back. Okay, and so then like so like Discover doesn't charge you any sort of fees. So like you can open up a like as many savings accounts as you want, and like they're not going to charge you any fees. You just like put in like an initial deposit, and they won't charge you any fees. So what I do, and like it's suggested here too, is you open up like different goals. Again, sort of like making money a tool to accomplish what you want, rather than it just being like savings. I just have to like put money away for a rainy day that I don't get to touch. So like make it things that you're excited about, like your wedding, like a down payment on a house, like a vacation, like getting a car, like you can set up all of these different savings account and then sort of split up these percentages, this 5%, based on like what you want to save for, what really excites you to save for. Okay, so that's sort of like the savings section, and then the other 95% is going to be for like bills and guilt-free spending and all that stuff. So most of it is going to go to paying off your credit card. And we should talk, before we get into this, we should talk a little bit about credit cards, because there's a lot of stigma around credit cards. The first thing that I will say is that if you don't think that you have the discipline to not spend money when you don't have it on a credit card, do not get a credit card. It's not worth it, okay? Do not put yourself into debt. It's terrible. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Don't go into debt. Not worth it, okay? However, that being said, I would highly recommend, if you can, to get a credit card and start building your credit. It's something that's really, really important for your future. And it's also, credit cards can offer a lot of really awesome opportunities. The biggest thing I would say is building your credit, okay? So when you start having a credit card, it's going to help boost your credit. And there's all sorts of different factors, like how many credit accounts you have, like what percentage of your available credit you're using. There's all sorts of different factors for like what determines your credit score. But a credit card, if you're using it and paying it off every month, is going to really boost up your credit score a lot. I had my first credit card when I was like 16, I think, and now I have like incredible credit. Like my credit is like in the best tier of credit that you can get. So I would highly recommend getting a credit card and using it responsibly. The other part, other than credit, that's really powerful about credit cards is that they offer all sorts of rewards. So you want to make sure that you do your research before you sign up for a credit card, and don't sign up for one that has like an annual fee, like it's just not worth it. What you want to do is you want to sign up for one that the rewards are going to be worth it for you. So I know that one of the really popular ones is travel credit cards. A lot of people really like travel credit cards. And a lot of travel credit cards, when you sign up for them, if you spend enough within a certain amount of time, they offer like a really big like miles bonus where you can get like a whole bunch of miles for traveling that like you wouldn't normally get for spending money on that credit card. And so that can be like a really powerful tool. Like if you look at your budget and you say like, okay, like I'm already spending this amount within the amount of time that they're saying I need to in order to get these points, then like it's a no-brainer to sign up for this credit card and like and get the get that additional reward. And that's really the idea of credit cards. Credit cards used well is like I'm spending the money that I would already be spending, but because they're offering me like cash back, miles, etc., it's just like a bonus. Like it's money that I would have already been spending and now I'm getting stuff back for it. And basically for as much as you can, you want to put everything on your credit card. Any bills that you can pay, put them on your credit card. Netflix, gym, like recurring bills like this are fantastic for your credit, because what's going to happen is every month there's going to be money that you're spending on your credit card and getting points for, right? Whatever those points are. And then you're going to be paying it off and it's going to be helping your credit. Like it's a double whammy. It's so good, right? And then for anything that you can't spend, anything that you can't use your credit card for, like rent, utilities, things like that, your checking account will handle that. And then whatever is left over after that is guilt-free spending. Once you look at all of your bills and you have sort of like all of your bills subtracted out, everything else is just guilt-free spending. You get to spend money on whatever you want, and you don't have to deal with the like, oh, like should I buy this? Is it okay if I buy this? No, like it's just like, oh, like I have money, I can do it. So like when I commission art for no reason, I'm looking at my budget and I'm saying like, oh, like I have extra money, I'm gonna do this. Well, that's not true, actually. What actually happens is I have a savings account that is specifically for stream. And so like sometimes I'll look at my savings account and I'll be like, I don't have a whole lot of expenses for stream this month. I'll just commission a piece of art. So that's what I did. But anyway, but like, so yeah, so like when I like want to go out to eat, like I'll look at my account and I'll say like, yeah, I have like guilt-free spending money that I can go out to eat and not feel any sort of like remorse about it. And so that's sort of the whole sort of like cycle of like automating your money. And you set all this up automatically. So you set it up where, 2% automatically goes into your wedding savings, 1% or 2% automatically goes into your down payment on a house, 1% automatically goes into your vacation, 5% automatically goes to your Roth IRA, 5% automatically goes to your 401k. However much like your credit card automatically gets paid off every month. And usually like you set it up a few days after your paycheck so that you know that, your money is going to be there and it's not going to like overdraft your account. Because overdrafting is literally just like throwing money down the drain. It's not worth it. And then like all your bills get set up like on auto pay, even if like you can't pay it by like your rent doesn't allow you to automatically pay it, you can set it up with your bank where they will write a check and mail it for you to whoever, like it's a service that most banks provide, to whoever you need to pay, so that even if they only accept check for whatever reason, you still don't have to like worry about like writing out a check every month because it's a pain in the butt. So yeah. Okay, so that all being said, I talked about why Roth IRAs are broken. I talked about credit cards. Oh, let's talk about if you're already in debt. If you are already in debt and you are looking to get out of debt, there are a couple of really powerful methods to do so. And it's going to depend on how your psychology works, okay? So the two methods that I really like, one is like the Goliath method. I call it the Goliath method. And the other is the snowball method, okay? The Goliath method is you look at all of your credit cards and you look at which ones have the highest interest rate. And you pay those down first, as aggressively as you possibly can. You put as much money as you possibly can comfortably, so that you can still live, into those credit cards so that you're going to be paying the least amount of interest possible. And technically, that is the smartest way to do it because you're going to be paying the least interest that way. Okay, that's the most logical, smartest way to do it. Okay. However, it is not always the easiest way to do it. It's not always the best way to do it for certain individuals, including myself. So the way that I did it is that I looked at all of my credit cards and I said, okay, which credit card has the smallest balance? Which credit card do I think I can get out of the way first? And I tackled that credit card first as hard as I could, right? And then I made like minimum payments on like all other credit cards, right? And so then what happens is once you pay that first credit card off, you feel that win. You're like, yes, I paid a credit card off. That feels good. And so then you feel motivated to go and pay the other credit cards off. And so what you do is that money that you were contributing toward that first credit card, you just move it over to the next biggest credit card, the next smallest credit card, right? And that's the snowball effect, is each time you pay off a credit card, the payment for the next card gets bigger and bigger and bigger, but it doesn't actually cost you anything more. And each time you pay off a credit card, you feel more accomplished, more powerful, and you get that snowball effect and you get that win, right? So that's what I would recommend for getting out of debt. And unfortunately, like there really is, there's like debt consolidation that you can look at and things like that for like lower interest rates and that sort of thing. But unfortunately, for the most part, there really is like no magic bullet. There's it really is just sort of like commitment and like making that payment automatically every month. Okay, and then I wanted to talk to y'all. One of the things that people don't talk about a lot of the times people will talk about like how to save money, but they don't talk about how to make money. And I'm gonna tell you, believe it or not, it's a lot easier to make more money than it is to pinch pennies, okay? And I know that sounds weird because it doesn't seem like it's easy to make money. But there's a couple of things that I really want to put out there. The first thing is like side hustles. The first thing is like having the confidence in yourself to like put yourself out there and start doing like just trying ideas. Start putting yourself out there as like a business person, you know, like look at the things that you're really good at, because everyone has something to offer. Everyone has something to offer. I don't care who you are. Everyone has something to offer. And a lot of the stuff that you're going to be really good at is going to seem like it doesn't matter to you because it's natural to you, right? Like Elle is a great example of this. I remember talking with Elle about how Elle doesn't feel like they're particularly good at anything, and yet they're actually quite skilled at social networking. Like the way that Elle manages like the Tech Bestie account is like I take tips from Elle on how to manage my Instagram, because Elle does such heckin' good work, and like I don't know how they do it. So look at things that may seem obvious to you and think like, okay, like how could I make money off of this? How could I make a career off of this? How could I start a side hustle off of this? And just start trying out ideas. The truth about like successful entrepreneurs, a lot of people think like, wow, like that person was just a genius. They came up with a genius idea. But the truth is that the successful entrepreneurs are the people who are willing to just try idea after idea after idea and see what heckin' sticks. So just start trying things. That's the first thing, okay? And as you do that, like you'll find things that really stick, that really like resonate with like the community that you're building. So that's the first thing, is like start a side hustle and like start getting multiple revenue streams. Most really like successful rich people have like, I don't know. I think it's like 10 revenue streams or something. It's crazy. And then the other part is, if you are working like a day job, learning how to negotiate for a raise is so heckin' important. So I wanted to sort of walk you through one of the ways that I learned how to negotiate for a raise with from Ramit, the money guy that I really like, Ramit Sethi. That is, you start out by like sending an email to your boss and you say, hey, could we set up a time to talk? Could we set up a meeting at some point? And so then you go in for a meeting and you say, hey, what do you consider to be like a top performer in my position? Like, what are the metrics that make someone a top performer in the position that I'm in? Because I that's what I want to do. I want to be of value to the company. I want to really provide value. I want to do what it takes to be a top performer. And like hold their feet to the fire. Like, don't let them get away with like the corporate talk. Like, a lot of the time you're gonna get corporate talk. You're gonna get like, well, you know, like we see a lot of potential in you, and we think that you have a lot to offer. So like, you know, just like keep your head down, keep doing what you're doing, and like it's gonna sound great, but like don't buy into it. Be like, I would really like some like metrics that I can go by that would make me a top performer, you know? And get those bullet points, right? And then from there, say, okay, so if I'm gonna like try to accomplish these things over the next 6 months, okay? Over the next 6 months, I'm going to try to knock out all of these bullet points. And in that time, if I knock out all of these goals, after that 6 months, I'd like to talk about a compensation readjustment or a raise. And the great thing about this is that like you're not asking them for it now. Like you're not putting them in a position where they have to give it to you right now, because their job is to like not give you that raise, right? Their job is to like talk you down off of that raise. So you say like, in 6 months, like I'm gonna provide the value first, and then like after 6 months, like let's reconvene and let's talk about this. And so then you do what you say you're gonna do, you know, like you start knocking out those goals, and you check in with them regularly. So like after a month, you send an email saying like, hey, just wanted to check back in about our conversation. You know, here are the things that you had said, like make a top performer. You had said, you know, like after 6 months, we could talk about a compensation readjustment, and this way you get it in writing, right? You get the like, they respond like, yep, sounds good, in writing, so that if they try to like back out on you, then you can take it and like you know, go above their head and say like, hey, you know, this is what we had discussed, and this isn't being delivered. So then, once you get in writing and you continually check in throughout the 6 months about like, hey, here's how I'm doing, here's what's going on. Then after that, after 6 months, you go back in and you've done your research, right? You sit down and you say, okay, so for people in my field, I did my research, and here's what people in my field are typically making. Here's like the low end, here's the high end of what people are making. And they're going to try to lowball you because that's their job, right? They're supposed to lowball you. So the really important thing is to negotiate. So when they say, you know, we'll give you the low end of that, you say, when we talked 6 months ago, we talked about how this would make me a top performer. And since I've accomplished all of these goals, I was thinking more of the higher end of this at blah, blah, blah number, right? And then, now keep in mind that, like, you do have to work with these people, and, like, it is their job to negotiate. So, like, if they meet you halfway, like, that's good. Like, meet them halfway, you know? If they come up from their lowest number, that's great. So, yeah, so, like, and so then hopefully you can sort of meet them halfway, and now you've negotiated for a raise, and you're making significantly more money than you were. And then the other thing about making more money is that most people who bounce around jobs make more money than the people that stay at a single job. And so, like, if your work isn't providing you the kind of compensation that you want, like, even if you're happy at your work, I would always recommend sort of keeping your options open, keeping like, you know, just sort of like keeping your profile, your LinkedIn profile up to date, and sort of like, you know, looking around at opportunities in your field and all sorts of things like that, just so that you always have opportunities, so that you're not looking for a job when you're desperate to change jobs. The next thing is, the last thing of this talk is that I think that there's a lot of shame around money, and I've already talked about this a little bit with like, you know, like learning to use money as something that you love rather than like an obstacle. But the other thing that I want to talk about is that a lot of people have a lot of pride when it comes to money, and I want to say that there is absolutely nothing wrong with asking for help. Here in this community, we have something called a moon cycle fund, where when people are on their moon cycle, they can reach out and they can say like, hey, you know, I'm having a hard time. Could I have some help getting like pads, tampons, panties, or just like that like taco that they've really been craving, right? Just to, as a way to sort of like help people that are going through that like difficult time. And even really successful people like Ramit, who is like incredibly wealthy, incredibly successful, still has times where like he reaches out for help, and like there's nothing wrong with reaching out for help and accepting help when you need help financially. And so I'd really encourage you, instead of like going into debt and ultimately like needing more help than you would if you had just reached out in the first place, just reach out for help when you need it and say like, hey, like, you know, could somebody help me out? If you're interested in that, in contributing to that moon cycle fund, because I do think that it is a really special fund, I'll leave the link down in the description for anyone watching this on YouTube, or if you're watching on Twitch right now, the link is there. But yeah, that is the talk for the day. So I hope that y'all enjoyed it. Let me know. This is sort of a different kind of talk than I've ever given. I feel like this talk, you know, I've never really given sort of like a financial talk, I don't feel like. But if you like this talk, like, leave a comment if you made it all the way through. How long was this talk? It was like a half hour or so, I think. So if you made it all the way through, leave a comment and be like, I made it! Give it a thumbs up, subscribe, all that good stuff. The YouTube is really important. If you're here in chat, please do clap it up. It really helps me out a lot. Thank you for listening all the way through and all the things. I appreciate you. All right, that's it.